Let's make a little single page paper bag bird journal. Hello, this is Barbara from Vienna, Austria. Many of you had requested that I make a paper bag journal a while back. So this is going to be my first attempt, and maybe I'll try to do some other methods in the future as well. I'm sure there's a lot of different types of journals you can make with paper bags. This style I'm going to be showing you today, and some of the techniques I'm using here today are very much inspired by a course I've taken by the lovely Roxanne Evans Stout. And the course I've taken was called The Book of Trees, which I really loved, and I will link her website below. This is not sponsored in any way. I paid full price for her course, and it was so worth it. So I thought I would maybe first show you the journal that I made following her course without trying to give away too much of what she's showing in the course, because of course that wouldn't be fair to her. But I do want to show you my final outcome, and I really am in love with this journal, I must say. So this is it. It's a small little journal. So it's called The Book of Trees, so it has a lot of trees in here. Love this binding. I'm doing a different binding than she is in the course, but the piece of branch here and the wiring and the fabrics and all that was very much inspired by her. We have a lot of stitching here, some hand stitching. This was something that I've received in Happy Mail, and I just really wanted to have that on the cover. I wanted to have a lot of layers on my cover. This was also another Happy Mail item I had received. This is something that we made in the course, so she shows us how to make some hand cut stamps out of some foam, what are they called, foam boards. And this is just a print. These here are, I have a few of these, I think in here. These are from Nick the Booksmith, her beautiful eco-dyed papers. And this is a quote that I found and cut out. Then inside here we have a lot of different beautiful textured backgrounds, and this is a little booklet I made. I used a lot of Japanese papers for this from my Sora Aksan bento box, so I will again link for you the video with the unboxing of that and all the information you can find in that video. If you are interested in one of those boxes, they are absolutely amazing. Then, yeah, here is another one of my hand-sketched birds. This is a stamp that I have. Here's some stenciling in the background and just some mark making on some fabric. Here we have some twigs that are attached with wire and some embroidery thread, some more stamping here. Another one of my hand-carved tree stamps that you will learn how to do in the course. Some more stitching up here, some more stamping, some washi tape, beautiful wallpaper in the background. This is one of my favorite pages. This is a leaf that I have collected. This is again Sora Aksan Japanese paper, some beautiful glittery twine, which was also in the Sora Aksan box. Beautiful, I think, Chinese paper in the background, and this beautiful golden tulle. I think it's called tulle. You know what I mean. Hand stitched on top here. Here we have a little glassine bag with a dried flower, and another one of my bird sketches. I think these are so fun to do. Some more stamping here. Another one of Nick's beautiful eco-dyed papers in the background. Some handmade paper, not handmade by me, but handmade. Some more stenciling, a printout just from the internet, some free downloads, a beautiful nature quote. Here we have a little branch and some avocado dyed cheesecloth with another fabric here with a leaf shape, and this flips up. This is a dried leaf on some linen fabric and another background that I have painted on. This is also a wallpaper. Some more beautiful linen in the background with some stenciling and a sketch of a butterfly. Some more stamping, and underneath another one of those trees with another quote and a calendar page in the background. Some more fabric here that is dyed with turmeric, which is amazing. A cute little tiny booklet here. I think I need to lift this. This is so small. I just love this. This is a velvet leaf that I had received in Happy Mail, and there's some hand stitching here. And there's just some tiny collaging in here. I love this book. This is also a stamp that I made in the course. And yeah, another one of my tree stamps in the background, some stenciling here. Here we have a little rock that I found, or a stone, a pebble actually, that I found, which is attached with some twine. So Roxanne shows you that in the course as well. Another real leaf here, and another leaf stamp. Some more stamping here on this linen. Then we have some more wallpaper here, and there's another piece of paper here. This one here didn't at all turn out like I wanted it to. I don't really like how this turned out, but it is a dried leaf that I painted over and stamped the word imagine, but yeah, totally gone wrong. Maybe I will cover that up with something else, because that's the only thing in the book I don't like. Another one of my trees, and I attached a fabric piece around it like this, and another quote here with some mark making, and this is the back. This is some of this washi that we also received in the, I think it was November, Your Creative Studio box, but this was a piece I had gotten in Happy Mail. I think it was the last piece I had, so I was so happy to get some in the box, because I do like them. I know some of them kind of look creepy, but I think they're actually quite beautiful, because what I like is that there's also some writing here, and that there's little sketches around them. This was another piece of wallpaper. Yeah, so that is my little journal, and this is what I am taking inspiration from for today's paper bag journal. So I'm going to be fast forwarding and doing a voiceover for the rest of this video, just because it would have taken too long. So this is just part one. I don't know if there's going to be another 1 or 2 parts, but we'll see how that goes. So I hope you enjoy the making of the first part of my journal. So I started out with 2 paper bags that were the same. Actually, I ended up only using one of them because that was plenty. These happen to be from Primark, but you can use any paper bag that you have, obviously. I am starting by cutting off the handles. And as I mentioned in the intro, this is the first time that I try this, so I have no particular method. I'm just kind of taking things as they come, working step by step, having no clue what the final outcome will be. I don't even have a specific size in mind, or binding method, or cover, or anything. I'm really going into this totally naive and just wanted to see how things go if I just turn the camera on and try to make a journal out of a paper bag. So hopefully this will be useful and inspiring for you if you want to try something similar. So here what I'm doing is I'm just trying to take the paper bag apart so that I would have as much bag space or paper space as possible to then make pages out of. And I'm going to be making single pages, but if you don't want to do that, obviously you can make your pages folded so that then you could stitch them together in signatures with a pamphlet stitch or something. But I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to try some new binding methods this year, so I'm kind of trying to do all in one. So I wanted to do more nature. I'm doing that here as well. I wanted to experiment. So I thought this was a nice and challenging project for the beginning of the year to kick off my goals for this year, to just do more nature themed journals and to experiment more, to do more mixed media, to try new methods and incorporate also some new materials. It's not always easy having the courage to film when you're doing something you're not confident in or you're trying for the first time, but I thought I do want to take you along, because that way maybe that will inspire you to try some new things as well. And if they go wrong, they go wrong. That's totally fine. But maybe we can fix whatever goes wrong. So here I am just trying to figure out what size I want my pages to be. And I wasn't sure if I would use that part that I folded up on the bottom one to use like as tuck spots. But in the end, I decided I just want straightforward single pages without any tuck spots or anything. I wanted it to be in the style that the book of trees was in, and I wanted to kind of keep it fairly simple, to work more with textures and not to fill it up maybe so much, but to just kind of keep it a little more minimal and let the textures and the materials kind of speak for themselves as much as possible, but still, of course, providing enough interest. So here I decided to tear the bottom part away. Yeah, and another thing that I am challenged with here in this project is I wanted to try to be less perfectionist about everything. And so by tearing these pages here and having unequal pages and no straight edges or anything like that, I am really kind of going out of my comfort zone to just kind of let it be and let things just come out the way they want to come out without trying to fix everything, if you know what I mean. So here I have this is the other half of the paper bag. So I wanted to use, of course, as much as possible. So again, here I'm tearing out as much as possible to have as many pages as possible. And I'm also using the ones that have like some folds in them. And I love all the crinkles and everything. So I think that's part of the charm, to just have it kind of more natural, more yeah, go with the flow, you know. and I'm really enjoying this project. Obviously, I'm not done with it. I'm just in part one basically, but I'm loving the way that it's going. I'm love trying to figure things out as I'm going along without having a clear vision of what the final product will look like. That's, I think, always the most fun for me, to just figure things out and see what happens. I mean, that is where really the creative part comes in. So here I'm counting, I believe I have 13 pages. And I wanted to give you the approximate sizes here so you can see in inches and centimeters, because I'm sure some of you are going to ask what my page size is. So that was a very rough view. So I'm starting off adding a partial print of one of Nick the Booksmith's eco-dyed papers, which I will link below from her Etsy shop as well. So that is going to be my cover. On the back side, I'm attaching, or I'm adhering, some of this beautiful Chinese paper that I have. And I'm going to continue just to add something on every bag page. These are some beautiful prints from the Digital Collage Club. So this is a membership-based site, and it has thousands of royalty-free papers. And I'm going to link all the ones that I use in this journal down below for you, as well as some discount codes for you if you want to become a member this year. I have been a member for quite a long time now, and if you click on the links using my discounts, just so that you're informed, I will get a commission from that. But I have used Tina's, who is the owner of the shop, Tina's papers longer than I have been a member, or I should say longer than I've been a design team member, because I've always loved her downloads, and she has such a huge variety and different styles and everything that I loved using them even before I was part of her team. So that's why it was natural for me to become part of her team, because I just loved using them anyway. So here I have some beautiful handmade paper that was gifted to me. I am also using that as one of my backgrounds. So what I was trying to achieve was just to use different textures and different kinds of backgrounds to put on my papers here. This of course makes the bag more sturdy, and it covers up most of the writing that we have on it. Some of the writing will peek out from the sides or the top, but that is okay. That doesn't bother me. This was actually just some packaging that I kept. Also has a beautiful natural feel to it, even though it's very thin. It's almost like tissue paper. And I just love that the pages are different sizes and different shapes. So the rest I continued off camera, because I think you understand how I'm doing this, and I'm just giving you a quick flip through of all the papers I have used. Some of these are just scraps from things I had on my desk. Some of them are copies of some leaf prints that I had with some watercolors. Various other beautiful papers. The one on the right is again from the Digital Collage Club. Some beautiful Japanese papers again. These are from the Sora Ahsan Studio bento box. Another one of NYX Eco Dies. Again, Digital Collage Club on the right. Left one and the right one are Sora Ahsan Studio. And this is the back with some watercolor prints of leaves that I have made and copied. So those are my bases for my pages. And now I wanted to add some texture by using some linen. So I had bought this gray linen in my local fabric shop, and I dyed it. This one you can hardly see the dye, but it did change the hue a little bit. I dyed it with hibiscus, and this is dyed with the turmeric. What you saw before was the bright yellow. It comes out as this like mustard yellow on the gray fabric, and these are parts of the fabric that was it was part of the Sora Ahsan bento box. The whole box was wrapped in this beautiful fabric, and I finally, after more than a year, decided that I can cut it up and use it in other projects. So now I'm just adding these in between some of my other pages, because I wanted the journal to be a little more soft and to have some soft pages to flip through as well. And then I wanted to add some hand stitching, and this is what my embroidery box looked like. It was a complete mess. And finally, because of your suggestions in one of my December daily videos, I've bought some tea bag containers in which I put these holders that I hand cut front and back, glued them together, and then I added my embroidery thread to those paper spools, and now it's so wonderfully organized and I just love it. So I have one box for all of my threads that are still in the original wrapping, and as soon as I use them I would then just add them to these paper spools and add them to this box. So really loving that. Thank you so much for all of your wonderful suggestions. So on one of these fabric pieces I wanted to add a very primitive leaf that I wanted to stitch. So I'm taking some like sewing chalk, but if you don't have one of these, you can do this very lightly in pencil, or maybe you have some other, like I think what also works well is the water soluble colored pencils. I think you would be able to get those off again as well, but the chalk of course is great. So I drew this shape of a leaf, which I'm then going to embroider around with this like kind of a rusty brown thread, and I just knotted the beginning. I made a double knot, and I will leave that showing because I think that's totally fine to have that showing at the end. And I'm just using a straight stitch going up on top and then back down on the bottom again, because I wanted both sides to be pretty, because it's going to be like a page, so you can see the front and the back. And so this way the front and back will look pretty much the same. So I'm just going along the lines that I have drawn and stitching the sleeve. Totally easy, totally relaxing. I'm really loving adding these hand stitched elements to my journals. I think it makes them extra special. And of course it gives extra texture and more interest than if you're just using paper. I just love it. And the thing is also, of course, it stays flat. You're embroidering something, but it stays flat in a book, so it's just perfect. So that is the outline of the leaf, and then I also wanted to stitch this leaf, this line in the middle. Now at the end, I'm just again making one knot, actually only here, and I am just cutting that short. And then I'm going to use a second thread for a very simple middle line. Again, just leaving the knot. Just stitching a straight line, super simple, super quick, super fun. And again, I'm going to end it just by tying a knot there and cutting it. Since there won't be a lot of strain on it, I don't even worry about making a double knot, because I really don't think it's gonna come undone on this linen, which is quite tightly woven. So there you see, front and back both pretty, and now I can add that like a page in my journal, and I really love that. Then I take this second piece, which was the one that was dyed with hibiscus. So I had some dried hibiscus leaves that my hubby brought for me from Egypt. It's a big thing there to drink hibiscus tea, and also cold in the summer with ice cubes. It's really nice. And they dye really well because they are so pigmented. And here what I'm doing is I'm using my chalk to draw a very simple silhouette of a tree, because this time I wanted to embroider a tree. So same method. And if you need help drawing tree images, I would suggest to just Google simple tree sketch or something like that, and then maybe you can just copy the silhouette to come up with a very simple page like this. And now I chose a purple thread for this, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm just going to stitch around the outlines of my tree. And at the end again, I'm making one single knot and cutting that end off. So there's my little tree image, front and back. And again, I'm going to add that as one of my pages in my little journal. Next, I'm using this avocado dyed cheesecloth, and I wanted to try stamping on it with one of my bird hand carved stamps. And I had no idea if this was going to work, because I've never tried that before. So this is one of the foam pieces that I used to cut out the bird, and I just glued him onto a stiffer piece of cardboard. I'm going to use my jet black archival ink for this, and I'm just going to give it a try and see if it works to stamp it on a cheesecloth. And there he is, and I couldn't believe how crisp he turned out. I just love it. I was so happy with this. So this is going to be used as a flip up on one of my pages. So I'm looking for the perfect page for this. First I thought maybe on this one, but then I chose another one. This is also one of the ones from the Digital Collage Club, and I wanted to hand stitch that on top, but first I wanted to glue it down a little bit just to secure it while I was stitching. And then I thought, no, it's kind of too far up because I wanted the stitching to go through the paper on the other side as well. So I just moved it down a little bit, and I'm using the same purple thread that I used on my tree. And I'm again using the same method. I'm just going back and forth in a straight line. Always making sure that the back is where it's supposed to be as well along that paper. And again, just making a knot and cutting that short. And then I decided I wanted something to weigh down the flap a little bit just to keep it in place better. So I found these cute purple buttons in my stash, and I decided to add them on either side of the bottom, just sewing through them once and tying them the ends off in the back and cutting them short. And this would just help to keep the whole flap in place better. And I think that turned out really cute. And also the back side is cute like that. Next, I found this beautiful fabric leaf. I don't remember where this is from. I think I might have bought this locally. And I wanted to sew that onto one of these fabric pieces, and I'm using the same thread again, and I'm just stitching 3 small stitches around the center stem here, just like that. And I'm just tying the ends off in the back with a double knot, cutting those off. So now this would be quite easy to glue into my book on one of the pages, and I wanted to use this page with the white natural paper on it. And I'm using my matte deco glue, which I got locally, and I am so frustrated because I don't know where I bought this. I know I got it locally, and I tried all the shops that I thought maybe I got it from, but I just couldn't find it anymore, and I couldn't find it online. So if any of you wonderful viewers in the German-speaking world know where this might be from, please comment that in the comment section below, because I would love to buy this again, because it is truly matte and it just works so well. I'm so happy with it. I also have this beautiful brass label, or I don't know what you want to call that, piece here with birds on it. So I thought that would be perfect. And I decided to again attach that to the same linen. And I'm first using some tacky glue to hold it down, and then I'm going to attach it with the same purple embroidery thread, just knot it at the back again, and then put that underneath the leaf. This was a piece I think I got from the Dutch chain Action, and I've hoarded it for probably a few years. But now I thought this was the perfect time to use that, and I'm again using the matte deco glue for securing that piece of fabric down. So this is something like Mod Podge, like matte Mod Podge, except this is really matte, because a matte Mod Podge is not matte, which I find quite frustrating. So that's a beautiful page, I think. And next I'm going to use another one of the prints from the Digital Collage Club. So as I mentioned, I'm going to link, or I'm going to mention which ones I'm using. And I just love that you can choose any download without having to worry about, I'm going to have to pay some more, because you pay one flat fee. You can either do a yearly or a monthly subscription. and then you can pick and choose whatever you want out of these thousands of images. And as you saw, I chose this beautiful peacock. This is my cover actually. And I also recently found locally, I found these beautiful feathers. I wish I would have had some in blue or turquoise, but I didn't. I had these in green, and I have like these neutral colors, which you will see. And so I decided to add some of these beautiful feathers on the cover as well. I wanted something light and airy and feathery to complement this beautiful peacock image. And you can also find feathers like these on Etsy. So just search for bird feathers and you will find a lot of shops that have these. And I just think they're so gorgeous, especially with these kind of designs or spotting there. I think that goes really well with the ostrich, not ostrich, with the peacock feathers. So I'm now kind of trying to arrange them in a pleasing way to complement the peacock. And then I decide to add some as well on that top right underneath the image. I just wanted this whole cover to be like fluffy and airy and have a lot of interest and a lot of layers. So I like that. And then I found this brass element, which also might have been from Action. I've also hoarded that for quite a while. And I wanted to place that on the bottom. And finally, I decided to also add some, just a bit of, actually more than just a bit of lace underneath. And the reason why I was inspired to do this was because I was just watching Tina's video, Shabby Dabby Doodah. Actually, I was watching one video where she wasn't using lace for once. But whenever I think of Tina, I think of lace and how beautifully she managed to combine it in all of her collaging and all of her beautiful journals. Like my style is not so lacy, but I think for this cover, it just kind of really worked well. And then I was going to actually not film me gluing this, but then I thought that some of you might not be so experienced in gluing different kinds of elements. So I wanted to show you how I do it. And there's lots of different ways to do it. But I chose to just attach the stems of the feathers with my tacky glue. A lot of people would be doing that with their heat gun. I'm like on a warpath with my heat gun, so I'm not doing that. For the lace, I decided to use my matte deco glue because, you know, it has so many holes that it's kind of hard to glue down. So using the matte deco glue that will not show at all afterwards, I thought was a really good option. So here again, you see the stems of the feathers. I'm just using my tacky glue. I didn't want to glue the whole thing down because I wanted the feathers, of course, to stay fluffy. And finally, for this piece of print, I used my 3-in-1 glue because the surface underneath was very bumpy, of course, now with all the texture, so I thought that would hold best. And I'm also using the 3-in-1 glue for this brass element. This is a sentiment that I have from my own shop. I will also link these down below for you. I thought that was really nice for the title. And since it was too stark white, I decided to just add a tiny, tiny touch of tea dye Distress Oxide from Ranger. And I also wanted to add something underneath that to give it a little more body. So I again used my gray linen here and just tore a piece that would be a little bit bigger than the sentiment. And I wanted to have it to have really frayed edges to continue with this look of fluffiness. Lots of different textures and layers. And this one again I'm going to be attaching with my 3-in-1 glue because that just holds better than the tacky glue, especially using fabric or other thicker elements. So that's my cover image. I am quite happy with that. Love how the peacock is kind of like the star. I still have no idea how I'm gonna bind this. But I'm going to be working on one more page, which is the one on the right here, which I'm going to switch over to the other side. So this is another one of the bird pages from the Digital Collage Club. There's so many to choose from. And since the bird is looking to the right, I wanted him to be on the left page looking at the leaf. So I just decided to switch these two pages, and I wanted to use that middle one there because he has this beautiful spot of like maroon red on his head, which I thought worked perfectly with the color of this leaf. So I'm tearing around him, and so he's going to be my focal point. And then I thought I was going to use one or two of these images, specifically these two here. I would have loved to use the dragonfly especially, but I then decide to not use those, at least on this page. Maybe I will use these images on another page, but it was just kind of too much going on. Then in the middle of working on this page, I kind of reminded myself that I wanted this to be simple and let the materials speak for themselves and the textures. So I kind of thought, okay, there's too much going on this page. I did cut a piece of this lace, just a part of it. You see this actually looks like a net, and I really like that color working with this image and also the leaf. So I thought I would have a bit of that showing underneath the bird. Then this is some cheesecloth that I dyed with the hibiscus as well. And I really love how that turned out. It's a lot more pink, of course, than the linen because the linen was gray and this was white to start out with. So there's a huge difference there. And I thought I would add some of that underneath the bird and then put that netting on top. And then I realized that dragonfly is just too much, didn't like it. And so I wanted to use a more peaceful version, which was like this, which was just a lot more calmer. And then I wanted to get rid of this hole on the top there since I wasn't using it as a tag. That kind of bothered me, so I got rid of that. And I was really liking this now. I wanted to add a word, and these are some words I had just typed in my Word program on my computer and printed on some coffee dyed paper. And I thought, why don't we use the word faith? Because I think we all need a lot of faith in this year that we're in, hoping that things will get better. And I decided to glue that into that spot for the blank label that was on the image. And I'm again using my deco glue to glue down my fabric and also my netting there, and that worked perfectly. And again, I'm going to be using my 3-in-1 glue to glue down the image. So that is as far actually as we're going to get in this episode, and this is already quite a long video. So I hope this gave you a lot of inspiration. Check out Roxanne's classes. She has multiple classes and I think they're all awesome. I think I might take some more because she is so inspiring. And I hope to see you back for part 2 in the next video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Love you guys. Mwah. Mwah.